Welcome, Facebook, to Le Grand Bouffe.
The big feast.
With myself, Cole Smithey, my co-host, Mike Lacy, and our special co-host this week, director Jeremy Workman. Welcome, Jeremy.
Thanks for having me.
To clarify to our future podcast listener episodes only, our audio-only audience, we actually live streamed this while it was happening to Facebook. So
this is our debut live stream podcast performance, if you will.
Very exciting. We didn't tell our guest that he was going to be on camera.
Nice.
Always best.
Yes, you did not.
So he didn't get that haircut that he's going to get tomorrow.
Man, I look terrible.
Fortunately, I got my haircut today, so I'm
Nice.
good.
Yeah, okay, go.
So let's talk about our beer. Jeremy does not like beer.
Yeah, I don't.
I
haven't like willfully. I still occasionally drink a beer, but not willfully.
What's your relationship with beer?
It's one of those things where it's like, as I got older, I was like, wait, I don't like beer.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt like it was one of those things where I was like, now that I was older and more confident in the world, I was not going to drink beer.
I respect that. That's how I feel about deodorant.
You don't have to drink it. It can be your prop. It's there.
I'm gonna have a sip, a ceremonial sip.
It looks great on screen.
Do you remember what kind of beer you were drinking? Maybe you were drinking really bad beer.
I'm sure I was. I'm sure, because it was definitely coming, like whatever, out of college and just
it's like
drinking.
bad cocaine.
Oh,
if it's,
I know.
If it's cut, it's just
it's
it's
cut.
not. Yeah,
a lot of people
laundry
quit cocaine,
detergent.
but they've just never had good
Now they
cocaine.
just go straight to the laundry
Sure.
detergent. Go straight to the cut.
I drink. People always wonder if it's like, oh, you must be what's it called, teetotaler?
Teetotaler, yeah.
I'm not a teetotaler.
Or an alcoholic.
I just am no beer. So I also my tolerance is like shot through the roof because whenever I do drink, it's only
Yeah. You get drunk right
it's
away.
only the real stuff.
Oh,
yeah,
very
yeah,
impressive.
yeah.
That's good. Yeah, I like that. And I've broken up with beer since the first of the year, so that it has a better effect on me when I do drink. And so I've chosen for tonight's beer the Hitachino Nest Real Ginger Brew.
Ooh, that's
imported from Japan. So this is the most craft beer, Japanese beer that I could find. It was only $7 for the bottle.
Wow.
And it's fresh.
And you sprung for a whole one of them.
Yeah, well, Jeremy doesn't really. I knew they didn't really drink beer, so I figured, well, hey, we're just gonna have little glasses. From ginger roots added to the brew kettle, create an intriguing balance of ginger, spicy, sweet, malty, and hoppy dry flavors and aromas. Brewed and bottled by Hyuchi Brewery.
Yeah, as good as I could do.
And imported by B United International Incorporated of Oxford, Connecticut. So I really love the little owl. There's a cute little owl, if you can see the little owl on there. He's not unlike my owl on my website, who we lovingly call Wilbur.
If you guys haven't seen it, there's a video of an owl taking a bath on the internet, and it's like he's getting his bath bathed with like a little spray bottle, and it's the cutest fucking thing I've seen in a long. He puts his wings up, and he's like, and then he like drinks from the bottle for a second, and then he sticks it up. Owls are super cute.
Owls are great.
They make terrible pets. I looked it up. My girlfriend told me to not even think about it.
Don't get an owl pet. Well, anyway, so what do we say in Japanese? Kampai?
I don't know. I'm gonna go with you. Do you know?
I'm with you.
I think kampai.
Kampai.
Slanchin.
Nice.
Oh, this is fun.
Wow.
I
like the ginger.
It's essentially, is it an alcoholic ginger beer?
No, this is a real beer.
No, I know,
ginger in it.
I know, but like,
it's not
ginger beer is a beer.
You're feeling a lot of ginger.
But there's
a lot of ginger, and it's kind of ginger beer-y. You're familiar with ginger beer?
Yeah.
It seems like you only get into ginger beer when you're in the world of mixed drinks. As a kid, you're gonna see ginger ale, but not beer.
This is 8% ABV, so it's a pretty strong little beer that packs a punch there. We'll just have it there for our viewers.
Can I be honest?
It's delicious.
It's good.
I might be back on beer.
Whoa.
You got
Excellent.
I don't.
And it's pricey, so it'll keep you in that framework.
I want you in the beer world, but I could go for gingerier.
Really? You don't think it's gingery enough?
I could go for gingerier.
Really?
I really could.
Mike, you're talking that crazy talk. Wow. All right, so I want to give a little introduction to Jeremy because I just a few months ago saw Jeremy's first film, which tell us it was on Filmstruck, and it's about a New York filmmaker.
No, he's L.A.
Oh, is he L.A.? Has he always been L.A.?
Yeah, no, he's first New York, and then he went to
Henry
LA.
Henry Jaglom. And when I was describing Henry Jaglom to Mike, I was saying that he shared this feature that Peter Bogdanovich had where he was Orson Welles' best friend, and he rode on Orson Welles' coattail to slide into his filmmaking career.
Were there other people on that list?
Right?
Yeah, he's Bogdanovich is like the great one who, really kind of supported him. And then there's a lot of like hanger-ons, and Jaglom maybe is more in that category. But we're talking about Henry Jaglom, who makes these kind of weird improv-y, kind of LA based movies with a lot of women. They're hated. They're some people say like, oh, he's kind of like Cassavetes.
He's reviled.
Yeah, no, they're
nothing like
they're
Cassavetes.
nothing like Cassavetes.
No,
so,
but I do think that he became competent. I think that Deja Vu is a competent film.
Yeah.
Would you agree about
that?
Yeah,
I mean, he got better and better. He makes a lot of movies, and even Filmstruck, which is the streaming service like with Criterion and all, and TCM, they play Henry Jaglom movies, so he must have a following. So that's when that movie, which I made years ago, is my first
1995.
movie. Yeah, a little later, but yeah, basically.
Oh, okay, I'm looking at the IMDb, your IMDb page.
It might have like kicked down like when it first, but whatever, it's around there.
So how did you come to make your first movie about Henry Jaglom? I'm curious about that.
Me and another guy had met. It's a very funny story, but I'll try to be quick with it, which is me and another guy met him, and he said to us, oh, you guys are great. Why don't you be actors in my movie? Okay. And you could play film students, because I was essentially just right out of school as a film student. And I was, we were like all sort of starstruck. Oh my God, we're being asked to play actors, because this director does a lot of non-actors. He uses quote unquote real people. So we showed up on set thinking we were going to be, play film students in his new movie. And little did we know we were actually just PAs. And he had said that to a bunch of people our age to get free labor.
You were playing.
Yeah, exactly.
And where was this?
This was a movie called Last Summer in the Hamptons.
So you met him in New York?
That was in New York, yeah.
And where are you from?
I'm originally from LA, but I grew up in LA, and then I moved out here like for school, and I've been here since.
So what year was that? What year did you move here?
I went to school in like around 92, so that's when I first came out here, and then this was right after that.
So he wanted you to work on his movie. How did you decide you were going to turn that into making your documentary?
Well, it was so hilarious that like he had basically convinced all these people to think that they were actors in this movie, and they all show up, right? And so me and this other guy we had actually showed up with our cameras because we were quote unquote supposed to play film students, and he actually said to us, you're going to be running around in the movie with your camera. And then all of a sudden we find out we're just glorified PAs. But we had our cameras, so we started shooting, and then that sort of mushroomed, and next thing you know, 2 years later, we're like, wait, we have an actual movie here. And that was, interviewed everybody from Peter Bogdanovich to John Landis, Bob Rafelson, Milos Forman,
Candice
Bergen, Dennis Hopper. So that was my first movie, and did great, came out, played a bit at like Film Forum and POV on PBS, and
wow.
Yeah. So
did you make any money off it?
I did. It's still actually making money, which is
great.
Shocking.
Congratulations!
Like the deal.
Cheers to that!
Oh
man.
my God,
that's terrific.
We hope to someday make money.
These documentaries,
that's
man.
That's good.
It even kicked in a few bucks even on the Filmstruck deal. So
that's awesome.
Yeah. So, but that was a while ago, and now I'm already I'm off and running.
So what do you? I know that you how many films have you made? About six, 7?
Yeah, I these days a little less, like 5-ish. I think I'm at. Do mostly documentaries. I also edit a lot of movie trailers. A lot of people know me because I do a lot of movie trailers, and I've been doing that for years.
Okay.
Can you name check any of them?
Yeah. I mean, I had this like sort of cool trailer career, which was unusual for most people because I started young, right after I made the Jagla movie, I started doing Hollywood studio trailers.
Wow.
And it was nuts. And I was like 20, I don't know. I was like 25 and I was doing, let's see, I did Life is Beautiful, Shakespeare in Love.
Whoa.
Yeah. And I was super young.
Miramax.
Yeah, I was right in the heyday of that, that major period.
That late 90s Miramax period.
Yeah. I was one of the,
So you got stories.
I got crazy stories.
I used to temp at Miramax back in the late 90s, yeah.
You've literally never brought that up, and I find that interesting.
Well,
Yeah.
I didn't have reason to.
I mean, I was, that was like their heyday, and I was working on like a lot of those trailers. I remember that Oscars where like Shakespeare in Love won,
Yeah.
and whatever that was, 98, 99, I don't remember.
I think it was 98.
Yeah. And I had done the trailer basically to Life is Beautiful, Shakespeare in Love, and another movie that.
Life is Beautiful.
And Matrix was also that year, and I didn't do the trailer, but I was involved in the campaign quite a bit.
Wow.
So like I was starting on, and then I did the Scream trailers, and I did a lot of big movies.
That's amazing.
Yeah, but then totally now I'm like so not cool anymore because then I left that doing studio trailers, and now all I have a company here in New York called Wheelhouse, and we do indie movies only.
Well, we want you to plug Wheelhouse, but
Yes,
can
we
you tell
should.
me about how you make a movie trailer. They give you a somewhat final cut, a rough draft. How do you make a
They
movie
give you a
trailer?
bunch of clips.
Yeah, I mean it's a question that like people. It's amazing how few people just don't know. And
I have no idea.
Yeah, it's
Pull the back of his-
so many people love movies and love movie trailers, but they don't necessarily know all the aspect behind how they're made.
Yeah.
It's really quite. A whole art. There's a whole industry built just for trailers. It's not done by the studios. It's done by these high-end, hardcore editing houses that are specializing in trailers. Some have specialties like the horror company or the drama company. So usually you get a finished film, but there's a lot of times when you just get dailies. And, I think though I haven't done that for a while. The last trailer that I did off dailies was The Place Beyond the Pines.
Oh, yeah.
But it was a very early
That's
trailer.
Ryan Gosling.
Yeah, it was a very early trailer in their process, and it was really only used for like before they even had distribution. But these days, since I work mostly on indie films and documentary trailers, it's mostly finished films.
So give us some titles for stuff that you've been working on lately.
Well, these days, let's see. Wheelhouse, we're known for a lot of the great docs. Pretty much every year, if it's like the short list for the Oscars, we've done a handful of those trailers. A lot of the foreign films. There was, I think we've done the trailers for 5 or 6 foreign films that have won Best Foreign Film.
Amazing.
Wow.
Yeah, so like I did The Great Beauty, Amor,
Love
A
that
Separation,
Love that movie.
Secret in Their Eyes,
Great
the original.
movies. Great movies.
Are you doing the specifically the U.S. distribution?
Exactly.
trailer?
Like the trailers usually from Europe are not good, and then some distributor here gets this movie, and it's just like, whoa, wait a second, The Great Beauty. This is really great. This could win an Oscar. And then they come to us, and we, then we sort of bring it to the American audience.
I noticed that foreign language trailers go very light on the dialogue in the trailer. Is that generally the case? Or?
No, it's definitely like how it's changed over the years. When I did the Life is Beautiful trailer, again, that was like one of my first trailers, but it was narration. There was like a narrator through it. And then it went through a period, a long time when I did like some other foreign film trailer. Oh, I did one that a lot of the nerds like. I did Russian Ark, which is that
Sure.
one-shot movie.
Yeah, through the Russian,
exactly.
the Hermitage. Yeah.
So like that doesn't have any subtitles because like they're worried that people don't want to read. And now it's kind of like come full circle where you could drop in a lot of subtitles.
Right.
So it all depends. But yeah, and we do a lot of documentaries. A lot of the big documentaries we work on, we on their trailers. So,
any of the document, the nominations just came out yesterday.
we had a little bit of an off year. We had some movies that were shortlisted both for foreign and documentary, but we really don't have a horse in the race. We've been working on Lady Bird, but not the trailer. We've been doing small pieces and.
That's a coincidence.
Yeah,
We just covered Lady Bird earlier.
Oh, really?
That's our next week's podcast.
Nice. So like we also
so what have you done for Lady Bird?
My company also does a lot of production because now it starts like sort of dovetailing with what I do outside of trailers, which is I make documentaries. So we also do a lot of sort of content creation for movies. Like, so we interviewed Greta Gerwig. We create featurettes. We often we frequently go on set. It's not usually me. It's like my company people that are the production side. We go on set of movies. We were on the set of The Big Sick, for example, shooting
cool.
behind the scenes. We create
Kumail and Emily.
Yeah. We were on set for a few days on that.
Very cool.
And we've also
That's nominated as Lady Bird, of
it
course.
did not get nominated.
Oh, it's not.
It was a snub.
Did they not get? Oh, they didn't get anything.
Yeah. So I think they got screenplay, but
I'm curious.
Oh, that's not nothing.
I'm curious about the True New York
oh, that's cool.
documentary that you did,
Yeah.
and your segment was called One Track Mind,
Which is all okay.
which is to me is a Johnny Thunders reference.
One Track Mind was a documentary that I made that like it played at Tribeca Film Festival, and then it subsequently went to become part of this compilation called True New York, which is all these films about New York City.
So what's it about?
It's about a guy who has spent 40 years drawing all the mosaics and design decor of the original historical New York City subway stations.
Wow.
And
Very
it's
cool.
awesome. And just a plug, after I made that film, I took it around to some publishers, and we are now releasing. The book is being published, and it's coming out April 1st.
Oh, wow.
And it's also called One Track Mind. And it's about the art of this guy, Phil Coppola, who has basically spent his life, drawing the subway decor. So yeah, everybody should look out for that book, One Track Mind. It's coming out in April.
And who's the publisher?
Princeton Architectural Press. And
Very
a
cool.
great writer, a great novelist did our foreword, Jonathan Lethem. So we're super pumped for that.
amazing.
Yeah, amazing. I know.
So I also wanted to ask you about Magical Universe because I haven't seen it.
Oh, you should see that.
But I really want to, and it just the whole premise. Tell us about the
Magical Universe was my last film, last documentary. Actually, I have a new documentary that's coming out this year, and it's going to premiere soon.
Great.
Yeah. But Magical Universe was a documentary I made that IFC Films released. It had played at a lot of festivals, but it was kind of slow to kind of get a lot of steam. And then it got a lot of momentum, and all of a sudden then it was picked up and released in theaters. But the reason why it was a surprise to even get that distribution was it's so unusual. It's about an 80-year-old artist who I discovered in Maine who was living in a house on the side of the road 24/7 doing artwork with Barbie dolls.
where in Maine?
A town called Saco.
How far is that from Portland?
Maybe an hour.
Okay.
It's south.
Okay.
It's not like a tiny
this
town.
doc?
Yeah. Magical Universe. So people have heard of
Has
it.
it played
came out-
anywhere?
Yeah, it played. It
Play in Nashville?
like the Nashville Film Festival, or the Nashville.
No.
It might have. I think it played at the Nashville Museum.
I think I saw it.
You saw it,
I saw
see?
something.
Nice.
I saw something about
Yeah.
this. It may have been someone else's documentary about the same thing. My friend has a film.
There's not
festival
many. There's not many movies about 88-year-old Barbie doll artists.
No.
But I have seen a documentary about this, and so I feel like it must be yours. It was at the Defy Film Festival in Nashville. It is a very small and new one that my friend Dicey Wildman just started.
I don't know if it was playing that. It came out maybe 3 years ago. Like it did a lot of film festivals then, but it did play. I think it played at Nashville Museum. I don't know. It played at a lot of festivals. It was on Netflix for. It just finished its run on Netflix actually.
Oh,
So,
darn it. I wish I had caught it while it was on Netflix.
Yeah, and it's weird. Oh, and I'm in it because it's a first-person documentary. It's about my friendship with this guy.
That's
It's
so cool.
really weird. Very strange movie.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. So all right, so tell us about your new before we start talking about the
God.
Yakuza, which
Are we going to get to this movie?
I believe it's pronounced.
No, we're going
I
to.
believe it's pronounced the
But
Yakuza.
But I think it's only fair. I think
Yeah.
it's only fair because this is the first time we've had a director, right, on the show.
Oh, I think I've heard of directors on your show.
We're insulting someone, I'm sure.
Probably, but nonetheless,
I'm not much of a director.
I'm really drunk right now.
We have a really interesting filmmaker here. And I want to just get to what he's working on next.
Awesome. My new movie is, and it's going to fit in the themes of some of these other ones I've already described. It's called The World Before Your Feet, and it's a documentary. It's about Matt Green, who's 37, who for the last 6 years has been walking every single street of New York City.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, all 5 boroughs. It adds up to 8,000 miles. I've been shooting them for 3 years. And
he goes out every day and walks.
Yeah, he also does a lot of research. He anything he sees that like catches his fancy, he does like crazy amounts of research. At this point, I feel like he knows more about New York than anyone alive, and he's 37.
That's incredible.
He also couch surfs. He doesn't have an apartment. He quit his job. This is all he does.
Wow.
How does he stay alive?
He gets donations. He's got a great blog that people should check out, but it doesn't get much traffic. It's imjustwalkin.com, which
Nice.
of course is the Midnight Cowboy quote. And he has a great blog where he does kind of, shows what he's seen each day. And he gets a few donations from that, and he lives
I
off,
love it.
but he lives off $10 a day.
Wow.
So I just finished this movie.
It's so New York.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
love it. I
And-
love it.
and
It's very old school New York.
Hopefully, and I can't say anything, but hopefully, like very soon after when this episode airs, it's going to be announced where it's going to premiere.
Okay.
But it came out really good. It's kind of arty. Jesse Eisenberg is a producer. So
Oh,
that
terrific.
yeah,
Excellent.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm really excited about that, and it's kind of like connects my filmmaking with my trailers, and we're now doing all the marketing on it, and it's gonna be a neat one. Hopefully you'll hear
Awesome.
about it. Yeah,
Awesome.
It's called The World Before Your Feet, and people, if they're listening, I'd love them if they'd go to our Facebook World Before Your Feet, and give us a follow or a like, and you'll find out when it plays.
And I'm just walking. Give that guy some donations.
Yeah, totally.
$11 a day by the end of 2018.
That's a goal. It's a goal. So I'm finishing up that now. We're still doing a ton of trailers. I still manage to see an inordinate amount of movies, and so that's kind of my bag.
So did you watch the Yakuza again for our purposes tonight?
Yeah, we were talking earlier that I had seen this movie. This wasn't actually my choice.
No, we had this email thing, and you were very cool about just no man, I can do this or I can do that, and I had just read about this movie, and we recently did a podcast about the Friends of Eddie Coyle,
Another good one.
which is the movie that Robert Mitchum made before this film. And when I found out that his next movie after that was a Sidney Pollack film called The Yakuza with Paul Schrader as a co-writer, I set that movie aside and I said, okay, I got to watch this movie. And then you left the ball in my court, and I said, okay, slam dunk, I'm going for it.
Right, and you threw it out, and hilariously, it's a movie that I totally know. I even own a copy, and I've seen. I had seen first in 2001 because I've kept like a log of a lot of the great movies.
Oh yeah, we got to have you read.
Can you read that?
We want you to read your diary. So here's the thing, Jeremy, when he saw this movie back in 2001, he keeps a little diary of movies,
every movie
that he sees, and so he has the diary entry from when he saw the movie.
Am I the only one here that does that?
Do you mark them fresh or rotten?
I don't. Usually I don't even write anything as good as this, but this is from 2001.
I love it.
This is a number of years ago when I was maybe a little bit more, I had a little bit more time to spend, writing in my diary about movies. But do you guys keep a log of movies that you've seen?
I don't.
I used to. I pretty much, the log that I keep is I try and review everything I see.
Right.
And so, that's...
I had heard, like, when I was young, and again, your listeners are probably realizing, like, I'm just your average film nerd, but I remember, like, being in, like, 93 or 94 and hearing that Peter Bogdanovich, the director, who I eventually got to interview for the Henry Jaglom documentary, but he kept a little file card system where he wrote details of every single movie he had seen, and it was like numbered in the thousands.
Love it. The last picture shows one of my favorite movies of all time.
Yeah, it's incredible. So here I was, in like 1994, so I was like 20 years old or whatever, and I'm like, oh shit, I'm doing that. So I basically started doing that in 94, and I still I do it to this day.
All right, let's hear it. The Yakuza from 2001.
So this isn't very long. It's just a few sentences, but it'll get into, I think, a lot of the cool talking points about this movie and why this is a really cool movie that should be known more. Okay, so I wrote the Yakuza. Good shit.
Great start.
Yeah, that was my first line. Good shit. Better than I thought it would be. A little talky and overplotted, but good stuff. Insane end showdown with Ken, he's one of the actors, battling a dozen Yakuza with a sword and Mitchum blasting them with a shotgun. It's easy to dismiss Pollack, this is Sidney Pollack, the director, dismiss Pollack as an action director, but both this and Jeremiah Johnson show that he could pull this shit off. Some slow stuff, but the good scenes pay it off. Mitchum gives a weird, solemn, moody performance. Brian Keith has a horrible toupee. Robert Towne and Paul Schrader wrote it.
Yeah.
A little too much exotica Orientalism, but overall weird, curious at actioner from the 1970s.
So this is Le Grand Bouffe. Thank you guys for listening. That's no, you got it.
2001. I was sharp back then.
No. You should be a film critic because
I could talk about toupees.
That is a perfect capsule review. What you just delivered there in 100 words or less was a perfect capsule review of this movie.
Do you ever say good shit in your capsule reviews?
No, but that's an awesome. I'm jealous that you started.
Watch out for him starting.
No, because that's just such a classic way to start. No, it's really true, and I was surprised. One of the things that made me want to see it, I'm a big fan of Paul Schrader. Of course, he wrote this before he wrote Taxi Driver.
Him and his brother wrote it together.
Oh, they have such a fucking. Yeah. They had such a weird life.
And then they had Robert Towne do the polish. I bet.
See, yes, Robert Towne is credited. I think that as the story goes, Sidney Pollack didn't like the script. Actually, so he brought in Robert Towne, who he was like working on something else, and they brought in Robert Towne.
That makes sense.
Yeah, and these are like giants, Oh,
well, there was the same. This came out in '74, and that's the same year that Chinatown came out, and I think Robert Towne won the Oscar for Chinatown.
Yeah, totally.
So
these are big people. And Schrader wrote Raging Bull,
and Pollack, who had done all sorts of stuff with Broadway. He had a huge, long career
and a good career. Like some of those early movies are really good. And I mentioned Jeremiah Johnson, which is another movie that people these days think of. I mean, Sidney Pollack's no longer alive, but he
just passed away a few years ago.
Right, he did like Tootsie, and he did Out of Africa, and a lot of people think of him as like this actor's director, but this is like this weird action movie. It's like this weird noir.
And he had done The Way We Were with Barbra Streisand and Robert Redford right before this movie.
Okay, so it's like
which is
totally,
insane.
It makes no sense.
It makes no sense.
Yeah.
And when you see the Yakuza stuck in there...
Yeah. I mean, this is the guy.
You have to just be attracted to watching this movie.
This is the guy that made Tootsie.
Yeah.
And he's making this movie, which is this like crazy, weird, violent.
And also it was an actor in Kubrick's Eyes Wide Shut.
Oh yeah, of course. Wasn't he? Didn't he replace somebody that got booted? I don't remember the whole story, but I
wouldn't be surprised considering how long it took Kubrick to shoot that damn thing.
He was brought in to replace someone, like maybe Harvey Keitel,
probably,
and they had already shot.
Right. I think that's what it is.
Yeah,
I think you're right. I think it was Keitel.
Yeah. So, the guy had a really awesome career, Sidney Pollack. And this movie, as my little capsule said, I mean, it should be known more, you know?
So were the Schraders really into the, as you put it, the Oriental exoticism? Someone fell down a rabbit hole, is how this movie
Okay, so Schrader was a huge, he had been a film critic, and he was a huge fan of Ozu.
Yeah.
And he wrote a whole book
right?
on film theory from based on Ozu's methodology. So he was really into that. And what I said in my review of this movie is that, it's a crash course in the Yakuza, but it's also this